Well, hello everybody, and welcome to my author channel. I'm Joshua Hicks. It has been quite a while since I made my last video on Berserk. Quite a lot has happened in that time. I guess to get started, I read way more in between now and then. I got through the Conviction arc, so I'm about halfway through the manga now. And rather than spend, however long it would take to summarize all of that for you here, I'm just going to go into my thoughts and explain why I'm not going to keep reading Berserk, ultimately. So, where we left off, Guts and Casca had just spent the night together for their first and only time in the entirety of the manga. So, yeah. Obviously, spoilers. If you've not gone through at least the end of Conviction arc, and ultimately, I do know where it ended with Miura's passing, like where he stopped, because I wasn't going to subject myself to, the thing where the fan base literally calls themselves the strugglers because this manga is sheer pain, and, ultimately that's why I'm not continuing. So they spent their night together, and then the next morning, oh my god, they have just the most perfect after moment where she realizes, like she points out an observation she has of him, where you used to always get really angry when people tried to touch you. I now understand why. And he says that it was never like that with her. Everybody else, but, Ultimately, I think that's probably because she's, like, the only woman that's ever touched him at all. It's always been big burly men, and that's the body type of the guy that did that when he was a kid. So, it's maybe not as special as, but it's really sentimental, and the little smile on her face as that happened, like, it's just a beautiful after morning thing. And he says, he starts talking about Griffith and becoming a great man, and she gets all upset. And it's like, neither of you ever think about me. And he says, then come with me. I don't know if having you with me will get in the way of my goal or not, but I want to have you anyway. And I know I said I wasn't going to summarize, but ultimately, that's the last the last happy moment that this manga seems to have. Because from there, they go to break out Griffith, and they narrowly escape a very grotesque monster that is very hentai, and it's sort of the beginning of the revelation of some of the things that Miura was definitely into, and how all of his female characters exist for that purpose alone. Doesn't always happen, but it's often threatened in very sexualized, pornographic style, like, manner. And it's just like, okay, so we're starting here. And then Griffith ultimately makes the decision to, well, the Behelit kind of uses him, ultimately, and then the heavens split, the Hawk are sucked up into the eclipse, and everybody is brutally murdered, and Casca does not get that mercy, and Guts is forced to watch while Griffith stares Guts in the eye as he does it. And it's like the sheer yo, dude, why? So full page spread after full page spread, nothing at all is left to the imagination with what Griffith does to Casca. And then Skull Knight, as I've learned his name is, swoops in Deus Ex Machina style, saves only those two, gets them out of there, and then poof, the eclipse is over, and it turns out that, you know, Guts is now the person we first met when the manga began, the Black Swordsman, just this rage-fueled monstrosity of an ape. We now understand why. The prologue to the real story is officially over now. And Casca is reduced to maybe a toddler psychologically. Like, like non-verbal, does not recognize Guts, is completely, like, for all intents and purposes, spoilers for the rest of the manga, Casca's dead. At the very end, right before Miura died, he had the balls to bring Casca back halfway and then die. It's just, you know, it's half. I kind of feel like he half stared us in the eye with that same disrespect that Griffith gave Guts. Because it wasn't about Casca and in the eclipse. It was about Griffith and Guts. And very quickly we find out that that is the only thing that Miura cares about. Casca was a means to an end. She is not she is not a character with her own agency. Now, some people are fine with this. There are those that feel it's perfectly appropriate for Casca to have this type of response to the horrifically traumatic events that happened during the eclipse. You know, a picture paints 1,000 words. There's chapters of pictures of this crap. So, even if it wouldn't be taken off YouTube, I cannot begin to describe the things that happened there. So it's perfectly reasonable that she is as changed as Guts was, if not more. Like, okay, yes, but the thing is, my personal gripe with it, and the reason why I am ultimately not going to continue reading, is because Casca was easily my favorite character out of the 3 main characters of the Golden Age arc. I'm sort of into the Griffith, evil, narcissist, wanna rule his own kingdom thing. Guts, as cool as he is, like, I get it. I get why so many people like Guts. I don't relate to the guy. He's very... The sword and I are one. I will be good at killing things. You know? And that's kind of... the whole thing. Like, yeah, he's been angry and vengeful, and it's just... I'm not necessarily saying he's a bad character. I just... he doesn't resonate with me. He doesn't do anything for me. As a character, I really liked Casca, and Casca no longer exists. And I know that because spoilers, and also I read through the Conviction arc. And on top of the fact that Casca is no longer really a person, let alone the same character, like, having her be a completely different person makes total sense, but she's not even a person anymore. And she is not for the next 200-some chapters until, like, 10 chapters before he died. The mangaka died. So, like, the main thread that grabbed my interest personally no longer exists in this story. And I find that really disappointing. Now, I want to make something clear here. Fictionally speaking, writing not real life, just so that everything's clear here. Writing wise, I'm not strictly against the events of the eclipse. I know some people just default no. That's your personal taste. If that's your opinion, that's your opinion. Way too many people get all caught up in, like, objectivity when it comes to entertainment. Yes, our entertainment can lead to change within ourselves. Entertainment, storytelling, it's powerful stuff, but it's also recreational for most people, unless you're a professional. It's purely recreation. You shouldn't have to feel that you should force yourself through a show or a manga or a book series or a movie or anything just because a bunch of people on the internet say that you have to because it's the greatest thing ever made. Almost any piece of fiction, somebody feels that way about it. Any piece that's had any moderate amount of success, at the very least. So, I'm not strictly against the events personally. The way it was handled could have been a lot, I guess tasteful is not really a thing here. I mean, I I can't say I like it because again, this is a very, messed up topic here. But Stieg Larsson in the Millennium Trilogy, starting with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, I feel he handled the topic very well. It was a theme throughout all the books, and it doesn't feel, that the author was into the scene, if like that's not what he's doing here. Miura, that is not the same case there. But aside from that, you know, the thing happens, Casca is fundamentally changed. I'm also okay with that happening. It makes perfect sense. Either give her something to work with, because again, I find the narrative construct that is Casca to be the most interesting out of those three main constructs. We're getting all whatever here, meta with this now, but I found her the most interesting. And then there's just her arc has been so like, whoa, this is, and then just nosedive, crumple and onto the ground, just bam, all, the plane that was the ride. It's just, give me something, or just kill her off, man, or just kill her off. There's I've never seen this kind of in between. Like the character herself was basically just placed into limbo. And like physically, tangibly, things are still happening. She's still interacting, but the character of Casca is just in this eternal limbo that only half ends right before the original mangaka died. And then when his best friend, and his, studio picked it up again to finish, his best friend's legacy, good on them for trying it. A lot of people aren't happy with the results. I'm not gonna read it, because as soon as they pick up, guess what happens? Griffith comes down from the... Griffith comes down from the heavens out of nowhere, Deus Ex Machina again, but hey, we're retconning, and or it's a plot twist, I don't care. He shows up and takes Casca away. And now Guts is crushed, and he has been for like 15 chapters, and everybody's upset that no, Guts has lost the gumption now. Well, of course he's lost the gumption. He probably thinks the eclipse is happening to Casca every day. Like, fortunately, they weren't cruel enough to leave us thinking that ourselves. She's again in an even worse limbo. She's now in a, Sleeping Beauty slumber until like the last 10 chapters of the manga, probably, when they finally save her from the castle, and then the battle happens, and most of the fans don't like it because it's not Miura doing it, even though it's an outline. They supposedly have a very detailed outline of the rest of the story, even though Miura clearly pantsed a lot of stuff according to the people I've read and listened to, because I've not read the last half, but okay. And Conviction Arc, though, as a construct, I can't have any complaints. The I'm forgetting the name of the arc, but the children arc, Lost Children, super like we had the eclipse happen, and now we're just staying there. Like Golden Age, like we had the Black Swordsman arc, which is really down and grimy and just hate and just anger and just this is all that's here. And then we had Golden Age, and it's really twisted, but there's peaks of just joy and excitement, and then we have the oh my god, it's just, and that's the entirety of it, and it's just the stakes get higher. And I was reading some reviews on my anime list, and somebody put it perfectly. It feels like a different writer came in and did Golden Age and then left after the kind of like handed it to Miura again when the eclipse happened. And I don't know if that's true, or if just some brilliant inspiration struck Miura and stuck with him for the years that it took him to finish Golden Age. But afterward, it is no longer fun. It was compelling, the drama was interesting, the new characters, Farnese, with her whole arc of disillusionment from her radical belief in her religion to like, oh wow, it's all not good, but Guts is seems like an actually alright dude, even though I was trying to drag him to the executioner's block previously. But now he seems like an alright guy. I'll I guess go follow him, is what they end up doing, and he gets a JRPG questing party to go journey across the lands to fail and fail and fail at killing Griffith without Casca having any opinion in the matter at all, because Casca's gone, and we have Elaine instead. There's a reason they call her Elaine. That Miura gave her a new name, because she's just, Casca's gone, and I don't care anymore. So I guess that's the rest. That's the video. But anyway, thank you so much for watching to the very end here. I'm sure my opinion will make a lot of people upset, but hey, if you like Berserk, if it makes you feel empowered, if you're one of those people that looks at Guts's sheer refusal to die, no matter what happens to him, then more power to you. I am so happy that you get to enjoy more of this, because I really loved Golden Age, and I really was looking forward to the rest of the manga, but I'm just beginning to end, Conviction was just not fun for me. I just felt anxious and concerned, and it's like I'm good when there's moments like that, but if that's the entire thing with maybe glimpses of peace between, it's just not for me anymore. Um, Again, thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in checking out my writing, I have the first 5 chapters of The First Ogre King available totally for free for you to check out down below. Thank you. See you next time.